these individuals for sure. So we mentioned, so it was about, we were speaking about.
And we wanted to talk about vocabulary, please, because like you mentioned, there's some terms that are outdated and that we need to actually be sensitive towards when referring to certain people in that community. And I think it's not such common knowledge, you know. If, like you say, when I spoke to you and you said, oh no, there's a lot of talk about, you know, the awareness aspect about organizations that are promoting awareness and supporting the disabled community. But of course, someone who's outside of it, like me, there's things that you just don't know, that you can't, that you don't keep up to date with, not because you don't want to, but it's almost like it's just out of your frame of reference. So we'd love for you to just enlighten us, please.
Okay. So there's been somewhat of a global move more towards people first language. So when you refer to anyone that presents with a disability, it would be person with disability, person with X disability. So yeah, exactly. So a child that has cerebral palsy, it's exactly like I said it right now, child with cerebral palsy, not cerebral palsy child. But there's a lot of politics around this as well. So it would be interesting once your viewers sort of watch this video for there to be a bit of engagement. I know the particular organization that I work for, we do a lot of Facebook posts and those kind of things, and we try to sort of do more people first language, but there was a bit of pushback on that, especially with kids on the ASD spectrum, where there was somebody who sort of posted to say, look, I'm actually very comfortable saying that I am autistic. I don't want to say I am a person with autism. So there's sort of two sides to it as well. Within the deaf community, and it's deaf with a capital D because it is essentially a community. There's sort of two sides to that as well. You've got people within the deaf community that's very pro sign language, and that's pretty much against any kind of assistive technology. So whether it's hearing aids, whether it's cochlear implants, and any other kind of assistive tech, they are very much against that. So there's been a lot of talk around that as well, because if you think of the way the world is moving right now, these parents are wanting their kids to learn sign language, fantastic. But then you look at integration and those kind of things, so you're like, okay, so if a lot of people don't know sign language, wouldn't it be better to have both sign language and an assistive device, so that they can go out, and even though people that like us laymen that don't know sign language, I certainly don't know sign language, although I would love to learn it. It is our 13th official language.
I think they're 14 now. I think number has been integrated, but anyway, besides the point, 13, yes.
So two sides. So parents are pushing for, no, I only want my child to know sign language. That is what they need. That needs to be their primary mode of communication. Whereas others within the deaf community are saying, that's fine, but I think assistive technology or using an assistive device in addition to sign language would be really useful for your child thinking long term. So there's a lot of debate around that as well within certain kinds of communities. I mean, I was appalled at the kind of words. There was one particular association where before they had the name that they are right now, I'm not going to go into specific names, but they were referred to as the Cripple Association. Now, words like that, it's incredible. It should not be used anymore, whereas previously that was okay. That was okay to be used. Words like even retarded, that's another one that we do not refrain from using.
Yes, I remember that one that stood out quite for me, because it was in a song, a very popular song. I think it was the Black Eyed Peas, probably like 10 or 15 years ago. And wait, that she might have been during when we were in high school, which might have been a long while ago. And I think the line was, let's get retarded. And there was such a huge backlash, and they actually had to, I think, either change the song or re-record it or something. And, they were trying to defend themselves and say, the intention wasn't to target that community, but it sounds like you're saying there's power in words and power in terms. So we have to be sensitive to those things.
100%. No, absolutely. There needs to be a level of sensitivity. There has to be a level of sensitivity across the board. And look, it's important to note that not everyone, like you said previously, not everyone is aware of the terms that you need to use. And that includes me as well. I mean, I am a health professional. I work with kids and with adults with disabilities on a daily basis. But something like there's a change now, even with the way we refer to schools. So it's often referred to as special needs schools, but now they're saying special needs, again, placing an emphasis on a special needs. A child needs special needs, when again, it's just looking at the child learning in a different way. So now, whenever we have to do, when I engage with parents, when I engage with educators or with anyone within this kind of environment, I need to, even as a health professional, I have to be sensitive to the kind of words I use as well. But it's a learning. I think it's a process. You know, it's we're not going to know everything all at once.
Yeah.
But I think that the sensitivity is what's really sort of important. You know?
Important, yeah. So it sounds like there has to be a constant learning and updating of knowledge when it comes to your end, and then of course probably to the parents' end, which leads me to my next question. You mentioned that it's so important to actually empower parents, and I'm thinking about during this pandemic, which is not what I want to make a topic of our interview, but it's important to know. Their children might not have access to all the things that they may have had when things were normal. And you mentioned that most professionals in your industry, to a certain degree, are trying to empower parents and educate them so that they can be the first point of support and not necessarily go outside of the home. So would you really just tell us a little more about how it is possible for parents to be empowered? And a really amazing term before, when you were discussing this topic, you spoke of role release and what that means.
Okay. So I think it was probably before COVID-19. So it really should be something that we need to strive towards as health professionals, whether it's pre, post, during COVID-19, where we really make the parent the primary team member when looking at an intervention process for a child that presents with a disability. So we've spoken about, as health professionals, we always come across the term multidisciplinary, and essentially what that is just a team of health professionals or professionals working together to try and give this child the best intervention that they can receive. So within that kind of framework, you've got your OT, your physio, your speech therapist, the teacher, if you're at a school, if the intervention is taking place at a hospital or anywhere else, you'd obviously have the health professionals and the GPs, and any kind of other physicians involved as well. But I often find with that kind of approach, so we all giving the child the intervention that they need, but it's often very siloed. It's often, I just have to do speech therapy with a child and that's it.
Okay.
So I'm not in anything else, what anyone else is doing. But if you think of intervention, and with any kind of intervention, there needs to be talk and discussion between the professionals so that you also understand what's happening on the other spheres as well. So it really is looking about more a holistic approach to intervention. Okay. So I'm very pro transdisciplinary. I'm very pro learning from my colleagues and even releasing some of my skills towards my colleagues as well. But more so than the colleagues, it's the parents. And I think particularly within COVID-19 right now, where kids are not at school, they're perhaps not going to their therapy sessions as regularly as they did previously. So they're now within home all the time. This is where that role release, like you referred to, is going to come into play. Because it's going to be very important for us as professionals. We're not going to be around all the time, that there needs to be a level of trust where you know that I'm going to, the parent, if anything, is the most important team member, always. 100%. They know the child better than any of us.
Mm.
Any of us do.
Okay.
So it's a level of trust that needs to be put into place, and it also needs to be as a major empowering factor towards it as well. So you don't have the parent there really playing sort of somewhat of a passive role, but they're really being more proactive in their child's process. It's something that doesn't certainly happen overnight, because like I said, there needs to be a certain level of trust. But I think if we can empower parents and sort of move more towards that, then I definitely think intervention will be so much more effective. Kids also, I mean, they trust their parents more as well. They gravitate towards their parents and the let's say their primary caregivers, because I think that's the debate for a completely different day. But no family is nuclear. You don't always have a mom and a dad especially within the South African context.
Yes.
You have child-headed households, you have grandparents.
Extended family playing a larger role because they stay with the family or something like that.
Absolutely. We've got so many households where it's grandparents that are essentially taking care of them, which is why we have to protect our older generation, especially within COVID-19.
For so many reasons. Yes, for so many reasons.
One of them being the fact that they are the provider, they are the caretaker within the home, essentially, the primary caretaker. So that's why, yes, we have to pretty much, coming back to COVID-19, do everything we can to protect them. But like I've been saying before, yeah, I think it really is important that as professionals and health professionals and teachers, is that we trust parents more, we trust them more to make those kind of decisions, because they are essentially the ones that knows their little one the best. So yeah, it's not easy. It's not always easy if you have also parents that have a lot of issues, other issues going on, especially when you work in certain kinds of communities. You would maybe that would be your intention, where you want to get mom or dad or the primary caregiver more on board, taking more of an active role. But they've got a lot of other issues as well, socioeconomic issues, where, speech therapy, I just think of my profession now, speech therapy right now is not a priority for them right now. Right now, they are either taking a pay cut, or they've lost their job, or they're really just trying to make ends meet to get through this pandemic, or even pre-pandemic, just trying to make things, so it's tricky, it's complex, it's a complex situation, but we need to also have those communication lines with them and speak to them, and I mean, in my experience, I've found that sometimes when you have a therapy session or a speech therapy session, it's actually more of a therapy session. It's actually more of a mom needs therapy session. So you end up having the little one on the floor, and he's playing with toys, and he's happy and content, and mom, just for that 45 minutes, she just lays it all out for you. She's like, this is my situation, this is what I'm going through.
Because there's no one else that can really relate or will listen, at least.
Exactly. And if that's the kind of role that I need to play in that particular situation, then I am more than happy to, because that, again, think about it, is in turn going to affect then how she's going to go when she leaves and she goes home with a little, she would have had that sort of lifted from her shoulder.
Of course, in Greater Cape Town, or even, there's a lot of areas that don't have access to Wi-Fi and things like that. So they can't necessarily do a Zoom session, and like you say, maybe not even bring on a professional. But you said there has been a surprising reaction to kids when they do have video sessions. Some of them are comfortable, some of them aren't. What have you found?
So with healthcare professionals, so speech therapists, occupational therapists, we've been doing a lot of our sessions via telepractice. So doing it, like you say, online with Zoom sessions and stuff. And what we found, it's sort of twofold. You'd either have learners that are responding to it very well, they like the fact that it's not as invasive to have the therapist sit in front of you and looking at you and doing the activity right there. But this distance actually helps with some little ones. And then you find others that don't actually have the attention to look at a screen all day. But I beg to differ, because I think a lot of little ones have that attention to look at a screen all day.
They've had some practice with TV as well.
Exactly. They're really the tech generation right now. Even my little ones, they're 2 and 5, but put a screen in front of them with a cartoon and you're good to go. They love that. But we really need to start. It's tricky because we are moving more towards, we are embracing technology so much more during this COVID-19 pandemic. But sort of sadly, within a lot of communities, especially within our country, people that, like you said, they do not have access to laptops and tablets and Wi-Fi to be able to do these kind of things. So what was really nice that's been happening in the United States is that they have their school bus that drives into the rural communities, and the kids can then go onto the school bus, and they've got Wi-Fi within the school bus where they can sit and they can do their homework, or they can do sort of remote sessions with their teachers, which is quite nice. Coming back home, I think there are other ways that we can be nifty to help kids access the curriculum, or to be able to access intervention. I think most people, if not everyone, has a cell phone, even if it's an Android cell phone. Yeah. So if you can just stay, if therapists and teachers can just stay connected via WhatsApp, I think that's good as well. So just trying your best to keep the communication lines open.
You can, that's what you have. Yeah.
You have to do really using what you can, and just trying your best sort of to keep those communication lines open, and be open to creativity as well. Yeah.
Rushdah, thank you so much. I think you made it really simple, and we covered actually quite a lot. I think I have a new respect for definitely what you do, and to know that as a professional, you have to also take time to broaden your scope. So like you say, you can integrate and do, I really understand what your colleagues are doing so that you can better empower the child, better empower the parent as well. So I wish you all the best. Your kids, I have a very special mom.
Thanks so much, Tina. And I wish you all the best for this as well. I have been watching.
Thanks again so much. Thank you, people, for tuning into the Joy Seat. And I hope that you walk away with a broader understanding of the disabled community and how to be more sensitive to them. Even though it's not part of your life, it's good to realize that we will come in contact with people of different walks of life, and that everybody deserves respect. Thank you again. Have a beautiful day. Take care, Rushdah.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.